Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me at the table. It's been a good 2 weeks off. It doesn't seem like it's only been 2 weeks, but it has only been 2 weeks since we've been away. I thought about taking 3 weeks, but said no. I need to get to it and get this question answered that I got, and also to kind of tell you about some stuff that I've been doing the last couple of weeks. I started reading a book by a man named Keith Farrant, and he's a prophet, and he does a lot of teaching of prophets. And he wrote a book called Overcoming, and it's all about spiritual warfare. And I wanted to kind of hit on some of those points that he brought up. They're really important for this time of season. We are now within the first week of Advent. We lit our first candle on Sunday, if you follow the Advent tradition, and you'll be lighting the second candle on this coming Sunday. But my favorite is the following Sunday when we light the pink candle. I don't know why. I just like it because it's different. It stands out. It makes you realize that you light that pink candle and you're over the hump towards the getting to Christmas. I'm still like a kid at Christmas anymore these days. But just wanted to let you know that it's been a very good 2 weeks off. Had a little chance to spend some time with some friends away. Didn't get COVID, thank goodness. Hope you're all staying safe and not getting it. I think we're realizing just how real this thing is because more and more people I know are getting it, and I'm sure more and more people are getting it, and they're doing well with it. And I pray for those who have lost their lives and the families who have lost loved ones because of this. This thing will all be behind us soon. Now with the vaccine coming out and so many people getting it, the herd immunity, immunity will take over, and hopefully this will just be something that is in the past and we can talk about it. But anyway, here we are, December 2nd, 2020. It just doesn't seem like it was all that long ago that it was March 2nd, 2020. Tanya and I were getting ready to go see Casting Crowns in the early part of March. And then after that concert, we realized, what's going on with this coronavirus thing? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has been a very long 9 months for a lot of people. But anyway, that aside, I want to talk to you about a couple of things tonight. First of all, I got a question that came in, something that I had not considered before. And, my first thought was, well, I'll put this on Bible time. But Bible time, I try to keep to, 10 minutes or less. And these shows here go a little bit longer. So I wanted to kind of talk about it here tonight. The question was, what's the difference? Why did Jesus say in John chapter 21, Jesus says to Peter, Peter, do you love me more than all of these? And Peter says, you know I love you, Lord. He says, feed my lambs. And then again he questions him, Peter, do you love me more than these? He says, of course I love you, Lord. He says, take care of my sheep. And after the third question, do you love me? Peter says, I would do anything. I would die for you. He says, feed my sheep. So the question was, what's the difference? Why feed my lambs, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep? Is there a significance to that? And honestly, I never really thought about it before, other than the reason for this three-part conversation between Peter and Jesus is that, first of all, Peter had denied Jesus 3 times. Okay, so 3 times Jesus is asking him, for the 3 times that he denied him, he's asking him, do you love me? And of course, Peter's answer is yes, I love you. So it was a two-part thing. It's letting Peter know that, yeah, you're forgiven and you're still in my good grace. But more than that, it was, I've got some big plans for you, Peter. And, I'm glad the question came in when it did, because I had talked, my plan was to talk about going to God first. And we'll get into that in a moment. But this kind of fits into that. Can only imagine that Peter was probably very concerned that he had denied Jesus. He thought he was dead. And now here he is. I get a second chance. Oh, just think, wouldn't it be great to have a second chance with a loved one, just even for a day? I know for me, it would be for loved ones I've had that have passed it. Would love to see them again, just even for a day. But we will see them all again someday in heaven because of what Jesus did for us. But anyway, So he gets the second chance, and he's probably thinking, he knows I betrayed him. He told me I was going to, and I did 3 times before the rooster crowed. So he's probably a little concerned, thinking, am I, is he not forgiven me? Am I not in his good grace? So it's part of the restoration. Okay. But it got me to focus on the lambs, feed the lambs, take care of my sheep, feed my sheep. And I asked God, I said, is there more significance to that? And this is what he gave me. He said, we all start out like lambs, like a baby sheep, and we all need to be fed. We are fed on this world. Our parents feed us. They teach us to walk. They teach us to talk. We go to school. We learn all kinds of things regarding this world. We grow. And then when we grow, we need to be taken care of. As we start to come to the Lord, we're no longer being fed by the world. We're being fed by the Holy Spirit. But when we come to the Lord, there's so many questions, so many things, so many ways we can go wrong. Jesus told us a parable about it. The sower soweth the seed, and he threw some on rocky ground where it grew up and the roots couldn't take hold, and some grew up where there were briars and it got strangled out, and some fell on the walking path and they got trampled and never grew, and some grew to be very strong. So in this world, we all fit into one of those categories, and sometimes we go through different categories in our lives. So we need to be taken care of. We need to be with like-minded people. That's why we have churches. Yeah, that's what churches are for, not social clubs, okay? Sometimes they become, unfortunately. But anyway, we need churches or gatherings of like-minded people to help take care of one another. So that's like the second step when we love Jesus. And the third step is to feed my sheep. Now, this to me is the really important one. The way Jesus said, feed my sheep. He's telling Peter, he's also letting him know, you're forgiven. You're going to take care of people, but you're going to go above and beyond. He's making him into an apostle, which has a great responsibility in this world, even today. Yes, there are still apostles in the world today. There are many who are called by God to be apostles, and there are many who call themselves apostles that may not be apostles. But that's beside the point. Peter was being called to be an apostle. And part of that is to feed the people who are newly coming to the Lord, to take care of them when they come to the Lord, and then to feed them more so they can grow in Christ. So in a way, he's setting up for Peter what he's going to have him do in the future. And if we look at it in the book of Acts chapter 2, Peter speaks on the day of Pentecost, and 3,000 people come to the Lord that day. If we move beyond that, Peter goes through a trial again, and he has this vision in Acts chapter 11. He gets into an argument with Paul. He kind of starts to lean towards, I'm a Jew, I'm spending time with the Jews and don't know about these Gentiles. Paul brings him back, and that's when he has that vision. But then he goes on to start to take care of people more in the middle of the book of Acts. And then as we go further in the New Testament, we find 2 letters written by Peter that are feeding the people. And I mean, he wrote some really good letters. He's trying to stop the Judaizers, the ones that he was almost a part of, from hurting the churches that he may have helped build in his 2 letters. He's talking about false prophets in 2 Peter. He's talking about all kinds of really great things in those 2 short letters that we can learn from and we can be fed from. So we can look at this a couple of different ways, where Peter was being reinstated, but also being told what he was going to do in the future. And then we see it happen, actually take place in the Bible. But how does that tie into with what I want to talk about tonight? Well, one of the things that I'm reading about in this book is the enemy will attack us most in our relationships. And it makes so much sense after I read it. I remember one time starting this, I had this great plan. I knew God was calling me to be an evangelist, is what I thought it was. And I wrote a book called Witnessing 101. And I was going to invite churches to come to these seminars, and I was going to teach them how to witness your faith to people. And the problem was I kept turning to Phil first for more ideas and turning to my pastor for more ideas. Even though he was saying, "What's God say?" I'm like, "Yeah, God told me to do this." But really, if I'd have turned to God first, that might have taken off. Might have been something. As it turns out, I had 3 people promised to come to my first seminar and 1 showed up. So it was not a great seminar. We still did it, but it was not real great. But anyway, had I could turn to God first or put God first in that, I kind of put Phil first in that. Now that was back in 2000 and I don't know, maybe 99, maybe it was 1999. It was before I became a pastor. So it was before 2000. But anyway, I just, it was a failure for me. Now, God has brought that back to my attention in the last year, and there may be something more coming from that. I don't know yet. But anyway, when we want to start something and we think God's calling us to something great, we're going to be a part of something great, we have to remember not only to just turn to God first, but turn to God every day. And it's not just when you think you're starting out on a great ministry. Even in our relationships, whether it be with a spouse, a child, a coworker, when things get tense, and they will get tense, they always do, when you get offended, and you will get offended, who are you going to turn to first? Are you going to lash out at the person who offended you? Are you going to sulk and just draw within and think about all that could go wrong and knowing and waiting for it to go wrong? Or are you going to turn to God? What if it's your relationship with God that has been hindered? What if you sinned? Oh boy, we don't want to talk to God after we did something we shouldn't do, right? It's kind of like Peter. He was kind of hesitant, holding back a little bit. Yeah, I believe you resurrected, but I'm holding back a little bit. And Jesus says, "Look, Peter, do you love me more than these?" "You know I do. Feed my lambs." So, especially when that relationship starts to fracture a little bit with God, we really need to go to God in that moment. Turn to God first. But it's that especially, but every relationship, no matter what kind of relationship it is, a friend, a family member, a coworker, even with your pet, turn to God first. Because it's going to do a couple of things for you. First of all, anytime we turn to God for anything, it's going to ease our mind. We may not realize it, and we may actually be fighting against it in some regard, but we will have our minds eased when we turn to God. It just happens that way. The second thing is that you'll get an answer. Now, we may not realize we're getting an answer. We may feel like, I don't know, God's just not talking to me, or, there could be all kinds of things clouding our judgment, okay? But God will give you an answer in some way. Sometimes we have to search for it. Sometimes it's boom, we know immediately. It all depends on the situation and how God's relationship is with you, but you will get an answer. And the third thing it does, it takes the focus off of what the enemy is trying to destroy. The enemy attacks us in our relationships more than anything else. If they can harm a relationship, they can harm what is going on. The way they harmed the relationship that hurt my chances of going somewhere with this thing that I had back in 1999, 2000, is first of all, I didn't turn to God. I neglected that relationship. And I also kind of neglected the relationship with my pastor, who was trying to tell me, what is God saying? What is God saying? And I was kind of ignoring him. I hate to say that now. Sorry, Tom, if you're watching. I didn't ignore you, but I just didn't really listen to you. But anyway, let's say that you are ready to go to work one day or ready to go to church. This is a good one. This happened to me many times when I was a pastor. Ready to go to church, ready to have a great day at church. Got the sermon ready. I'm on top of it. I know what's coming. And I get in some kind of argument with one of my kids or with my wife and something like that. Not a good day at church. Enemy moves in, attacks that relationship, things start to fall apart. It happens. Why do marriages fall apart? Because the enemy invades and attacks the relationship. Sure, you can say it's because of money. You can say it's because of you're not compatible. You don't get along. Things like that. Baloney. That's all baloney. A marriage is established by God and can be fixed by God every single time. Every single time. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. God can fix our relationships if we turn to him first. And when we do, we're like taking that enemy and saying, popping them right in the nose and saying, look, you're not going to affect me. But we got to have that mindset. Something's happened. I got into an argument with a coworker. I was offended by what this coworker said. I can now do one of two things. I can go sulk. I can go tell another coworker and I can start a bunch of gossip. Or I can turn to God and say, God, I don't know what's going on. You know this person offended me. I don't know what to do. Boom, you immediately diffuse the enemy's bomb that's trying to blow you up. Turn to God first. In all things, not just relationships, but especially with relationships, because that's where the enemy will attack us the most. Turn to God first and see a world of difference come your way. I know you will, because I've seen it happen with me. And I don't care if you realize, okay, Phil's right, but it's probably been 15 times that I didn't turn to God. This relationship is so ruined now. No. It's not if you don't turn to God first and you turn to him second, he's not going to help you. No. He helps us whenever we want to go back to him. I tell people all the time, they're like, I don't see God around me. He's nowhere near me. I say, turn around. You got ahead of him. He has never left you. It's just that you got in front of him. Turn around. There he is. And take your rightful place behind him, beside him, being held by him, whatever it may be. Just don't get ahead of him. We oftentimes don't understand how much God loves us. We compare God's love with the love we feel for ourselves, that people give to us or don't give to us, or the love that we give or don't give to other people, and we say in our minds that God's the same way. No. When you are not giving love to someone, God is still loving you. When you are not receiving love from someone, God is still loving you. Never does he forsake us nor leave us, and always, always, always he loves us. When we can understand that, then we'll start to turn to him first. Then we will start to understand just how incredible a relationship we can have with him. So this holiday season, when it gets tense, and add in COVID and it's going to get even more tense, turn to God first. Let him reestablish in you that which might be broken. Turn to God first. Jesus proved to us with his interactions with Peter that he loves us and will forgive us and will restore us no matter what we've done. Turn to God first. Thank you for joining me tonight. You've been a great audience as usual. I'll see you back here again next week as we get closer to Christmas, and we will continue on for 11 episodes, 10 more after tonight, for a total of 22 episodes for season 3, and we'll see what season 4 brings. There's still some things that are up in the air. A lot of things are changing. Bible time will still be on Saturdays. Might be adding it another time during the week too. I haven't really decided for sure yet, but we'll see where things go. Things are changing. Changes are coming for the good. So keep in touch. Send me an email at thetableonlineshow@gmail.com. And if you haven't already done so, please go to YouTube, find my YouTube channel and subscribe. If I can get 100 subscribers, I get to have a custom name, youtube.com/at the table. But I got to have 100 subscribers, and I'm 40 short right now. So help me out. All right, I'll talk to you again next week. Good night, everybody.